Before I moved there, I never believed silent paranoia could creep into your bones and settle like a second heartbeat. But that tiny studio in Chicago taught me exactly how easily ordinary life can turn into a nightmare. I was 23, broke from college, and renting a modest top-floor studio in a 3-story building. It was nothing special, one room, simple, clean, mine. The only window faced a narrow alley and another building so close a single car barely fit between them. Daylight barely reached the alley. At night, it was just pure blackness. I didn't think much of it. Back then, I bartended late nights on the north side. I'd get home around 2:30 or 3 a.m., kick off my shoes, make food, doom scroll until I knocked out. Pretty normal routine, at least for the first month. Then, one night, I flicked on the overhead light and caught a subtle movement in the window opposite mine. Just a tiny twitch of a curtain. I froze, stared. Nothing. Just darkness again. I shook it off. Maybe I startled someone. Maybe it was a draft. But the next night, it happened again. This time, I unmistakably saw a hand pull the curtain back, only for a second. No visible face, just the outline and the pitch-black space behind it. The creepy part, I had never once seen a light on in that apartment. I thought it was empty. From then on, it became a pattern. Every single night, the curtain shifted the moment I turned on my lights. Always after I came home, always within seconds. If I sat quietly in the dark, nothing. But the second even a dim lamp clicked on, the curtain would part just a little, then fall shut again. Someone was watching me. I tried being rational, maybe a night owl, maybe coincidence, but the timing was too exact. I asked my landlord. He insisted the place had been vacant for months and brushed me off like I was paranoid. Calling the police felt ridiculous. Someone in an empty apartment might be looking at me. Didn't sound like a report they'd take seriously. So I just lived with that sick feeling every night. And then everything escalated. One night, around 4 a.m., later than usual, I returned home and found a crumpled note wedged in my doorframe. It just said, "Hey." My stomach dropped. Without thinking, I ran to my window. The opposite curtain was perfectly still. I panicked and called my friend Jamie. She told me to leave immediately. So I grabbed essentials and went to her place. The next day, I demanded the landlord open the unit across the alley. He hesitated, but eventually unlocked it. Inside was dust, empty rooms, and creaking old floors. Except for one thing. In the room facing my window sat a single metal folding chair, positioned directly in front of the glass. Police checked it out, fingerprints, everything, but nothing came of it. Someone had been in there. Someone had been watching me. And nobody could prove who. I moved out that same week. Sometimes I still wake up certain someone's staring at me through a window. And I still can't stop wondering who sat in that chair and how long they watched before deciding to leave me that note. Some memories cling to you like cold air after dusk, especially the ones born in silence, isolation, and fear. When I was 12, my family moved to a remote part of Oregon, surrounded by thick pine forest. Far from town, quiet, almost too quiet. The old house creaked with every step, and the backyard had a rotting shed filled with junk the previous owner left behind. We rarely went near it. Everything started one night around midnight. I was reading under the covers when our golden retriever Max exploded into frantic barking. He was friendly, not the type to bark without reason. I peeked out my window. He was facing the shed, growling into the darkness. The motion light glowed, but the yard looked empty. The next morning, we found deep boot prints in the dirt between our house and the shed. They led to the shed, never away. Over the following weeks, it kept happening. Max barked, footprints reappeared, always stopping at the shed door. One night, I woke to footsteps crunching gravel right outside my window. They paused, then moved toward the shed. The motion light flicked on. For a brief second, I saw a tall man in a dirty gray coat standing by the shed door, his face hidden. Then darkness. My dad grabbed his rifle and checked outside, but the man was gone. Fresh footprints, again leading only to the shed. He reinforced the lock. For a little while, things went quiet. Then, Max disappeared. We searched everywhere, woods, road, neighbors. Nothing. That night I didn't sleep. Around 3 a.m., the back door creaked. My dad was already up, rifle in hand. The light flicked on again, and the man stood by the shed, holding a knife in one hand and Max's collar in the other. We called police. They searched the shed and found disturbing things. Carved symbols in the dirt, animal bones, we hoped, and behind a fake wall, a backpack full of wallets, watches, clothing belonging to people who definitely weren't us. A notebook full of irrational scribbles and drawings of houses, families, eyes watching. That night, while packing to leave, I looked outside one last time. For a split second, I saw a face in the tree line. When I blinked, it vanished. I screamed for my dad. He stormed outside with the rifle, yelling into the woods, firing shots. We moved within days. Sometimes, late at night, I still imagine boot prints appearing in the dirt, silent, leading to nowhere. There's a special kind of fear that comes not from being alone, but from realizing you're being watched when you shouldn't be. In summer 2018, I went camping in the Blue Ridge Mountains with Abby, Marcus, his younger brother Tim, and Tim's girlfriend Hannah. Early 20s, fresh out of college, excited to disconnect. Deep woods, no cell signal, just stars, a lake, and quiet. The first night was peaceful. The second wasn't. Around 11 p.m., Marcus froze and pointed toward the trees, insisting he saw someone duck behind a trunk. Nothing there. Then a loud snap of a branch. We brushed it off, but tension replaced laughter. We went to bed early. Later that night, I woke to the sound of slow, heavy breathing just feet from my tent. Not an animal, human. The breathing shifted from one side to the other, then stopped. I convinced myself it was a friend peeing outside. Somehow fell back asleep. At breakfast, Marcus looked shaken. Someone was outside their tent too. Hannah heard footsteps circling them, maybe more than one person. We found footprints around every tent, including a clear, bare human footprint in wet dirt. That night, we stayed around a much bigger fire, flashlights ready. Around 2 a.m., soft rustling, and then a low, human voice from the darkness. Marcus flashed his light. A naked man, crouched behind a tree, stared back at us before scrambling away like an animal. We stayed together outside, too scared to sleep inside thin tent walls. Hours crawled. Then a distant stick cracked. I whispered, "Please be a deer." A soft voice whispered back from the dark, "I see you guys." I froze. Nobody reacted until my tent zipper slowly began to slide open. I screamed, everyone erupted, and whatever was there bolted. None of us slept. By dawn, we packed up and left. At the ranger station, they listened calmly and simply said there had been reports. Someone or multiple people living deep in the woods. Some steal, some do worse. I don't camp anymore, and every time I hear a zipper, even on a jacket, I feel a chill run across my spine. Sometimes the scariest part of a story isn't the figure in the window, the man in the tree line, or the whisper in the dark. It's realizing that real life doesn't need monsters to terrify you. Sometimes the simple act of being watched is enough to change how you see the world forever. And when the night is quiet, and you feel like someone might be watching, you'll start to understand why none of us ever forgot.